What if you could easily connect to your highest intuitive knowledge and get clear guidance to access those truest gifts you have? This is Wellness by Design. I'm Jane Hogan, the Wellness Engineer, and my guest today is Elaine Glass. At one point, Elaine found herself at a crossroads. She was a newly single mother with two children, burnt out from her career. She had a dysregulated nervous system, thyroid, and other health problems. And she spent the next decade of her life in search of healing and truth. And she found it by getting quiet. In this episode, Elaine and I talk about how to find your inner truth by following the 7 simple paths she discovered while getting quiet, walking a classical labyrinth. Stay tuned until the end, where you'll hear Elaine reveal the 7 energy points in the body. And these aren't the chakras. That's what I was expecting, but they aren't. They're different energy centers that she intuited that can open your life to more understanding of your purpose and joy. So I hope you enjoy this episode. I really enjoyed the conversation. Elaine is a beautiful, peaceful presence. Please share this episode with other people. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. I would be so grateful if you would do that. It helps our message get out to more people. All right, enjoy the show. I'm so happy to have Elaine Glass here. Beautiful soul. And she's written a wonderful book about getting quiet, which, holy cow, don't we need more of that? So, Elaine, I want to say a big welcome to Wellness by Design today.
Thank you so much for having me, Jane. I'm thrilled to be here with you.
Well, I just love just even talking to you. You're calm and quiet, and that's really beautiful because I tend to, especially in my interviews, I tend to like go a little, get a little hyper, I guess. So, just calming down is so good. So you've written this book from your own experience, and I'd love to tell the audience, if you could share with the audience some of your background that took you from your previous career as a dental hygienist to being the author of a book called Get Quiet.
Yes, I would be probably the last person that would be a published author. I mean, I thought that about myself. Those are the limiting beliefs that I had been bogged down with
Mhm.
over 20 years ago. Who was I to be a published author when that was really a dream of mine when I was little? I mean, I'd kept a diary since I was 16 years old, but life got in the way and I got myself mainly in my own way. So I started off as a dental hygienist right out of college. I had the most amazing experience sitting with over 40,000 patients. Think of that, a whole stadium full of souls and human beings. And that I really look back at right at the moment and think that was my life class. To be able to sit with people, talk to people, hear and listen to their stories, understand what makes somebody healthy, what makes somebody happy, what makes people sick and feel pain. I had such a bird's eye view into their lives because I could see the medications they were on. I knew about their family lives, their relationships, the struggles, and why was everyone so stressed out the week before Thanksgiving? Well, their relationships with their families were strained. And
Yeah.
so it was this holding and carrying such heaviness that I learned that, my goodness, I was carrying that heaviness as well. You see, I was in a very difficult marriage myself. And after 13 years, I completed that marriage and became a single mom of 2 small sons. And that's where my quest began, to let go of the heaviness in my own life and follow what I now call my soul's voice, because that is what I believe is causing us to suffer and to be sick, is when we ignore that calling that
So
wants to
true.
be heard so desperately.
Mm, that is so true. I see that a lot, and with people that I work with, that um they have been denying a part of themselves, and that puts them into really an internal state of stress. And of course, what's internal comes out external, right? Our mind creates our body and through our thoughts and our feelings. And so you've seen that as well in your experience.
Oh, 100%. And then after I completed my dental hygiene years, I just knew there was something more for me because I had kind of burned out. I mean, and burnout to me is not that we're going and going and going a million miles an hour. It's what are we actually doing in our with our time?
Mhm.
That causes burnout. And so I didn't mind being busy and making an impact, but I needed to find someplace else to make that impact because I was already getting diagnosed with thyroid issues. So that was a direct hit to my throat area. I
Yes.
did not have a voice back then at all. So it was no wonder that it hit me right there. And this is what I saw all my patients going through. And I knew there was a more holistic approach to healing and I wanted to find what that was. So I went on a journey to find it because it was my intention to be the healthiest mom, mind, body, and soul that I could possibly be to my kids. But I had to do it quickly because they needed me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So did you decide then to leave that career and what did your health quest look like?
Yes, well, I back then everything was just a very chaotic time in my life. So much stress, so much worry, so much uncertainty. But I found a retreat center totally by chance, or we could say not by chance,
Yeah,
because
no
it was
coincidences.
no coincidences. And I went to this retreat center, and oh my goodness, it was like a quiet that I had never felt before. It was so peaceful. And in the back of this retreat center in the desert was this beautiful labyrinth, which is a 4,000-year-old ancient traversing path,
Mm-hmm.
meditative path that brings you from the outside world metaphorically to the inside world, meaning your inwardness, and connects you to that part of you that gets so bogged down in life that you can't, there's just no connection at all right now in most of us. And we're almost numb to that part of ourselves. And we can call it our soul, really. And so I started to walk these paths in circles in the desert. I thought I was going crazy, but it ends up, Jane, that it really brought me to the center of myself, this knowing, because I was so desperate to have some clear direction in my life because I was leading my family alone. So, how could I find my own self leadership? Because the outside world and the noise was not giving me the answers. So, this is the process I took to find that clear direction.
Mm. So I know the cover of your book has a labyrinth on it as well. I'm looking at it right now. And you talk about the seven simple paths the subtitle is the seven simple paths to the truth of who you are. So are the paths tied in with this labyrinth? How does that,
Yes.
okay, how does that tie in together?
Yeah, so I started walking this labyrinth and I noticed there were seven paths. But also, what I was noticing over the course of a decade was that I was taking certain action intuitively to help myself calm my nervous system. Because I knew as a dental hygienist and knowing the body as well as I do, that it's all about calming our central nervous system.
Yes.
And so just intuitively, I started nurturing my body more. I started moving in ways that were not so forceful. Like I used to run half marathons and do crazy things with my body. And now I was really drawn to a more gentle way of moving my body and nurturing my body through yoga, Pilates, swimming in a swimming pool, and just dancing in a pool and having it feeling much more feminine and much more calming to my system. So that was where I started. I actually just started taking steps to just begin to walk in my house. And I remember it was a hot August day, and I had been so bogged down with grief and loss through a divorce, worry about my children, worry about my own future. And I just got up off the couch and took 3 steps. That's where my journey began. Very simple.
3 steps, and when you took the 3 steps, how did that, it sounds like they're very metaphorical. Like, so those 3 steps led you to a different place.
It totally led me in a whole different direction. And that's what will happen when you pause, when
Mhm.
you get quiet in your life. It moves you in a whole other direction. And that direction can be scary because essentially your soul is saying, okay, get up, girl. It's time to get going. This world needs you. And that's what I was literally, telling myself is get up, get going. You can get through this and just start walking and moving your body. And that was the signal to the universe, to God, whatever was out there listening, that I was ready. And in fact, this labyrinth walking got so clear in terms of the direction I was hearing these messages that I couldn't stop going back. It was like I was relying on that quiet place and the way the paths traversed and shifted my energy in my body. It's like they knew something magical 4,000 years ago when they designed this. What I feel is like a portal that allows you to go into this place that is just meant for you to hear your own direction. And
Mm.
back then, I was desperate to hear my unique direction and my soul's voice, and not the monkey mind and overthinking voice. And when I paused and would go back and walk these labyrinths, I would hear clear direction, Jane. And those are the times that I surrendered
Surrender.
and
Surrender so. Mm.
I followed everything that I heard because nothing else was working. So why
Mm.
not just hear my own voice? In fact, I have a client. It's a funny story, but this will give you an example of what happens when you walk these labyrinths. And before I forget, people can go to labyrinthlocator.com. There will be one near you. And I just think it would be go and have fun, walk one. But this was a woman who went to walk a labyrinth and it was outside and there were bugs everywhere, she was telling me. She finally got to the center of the labyrinth and she heard this voice that I'm telling you that gives you this clear direction. And she heard, stop sweating the small stuff and stop allowing things to bug you. Well, in that moment, all of the bugs disappeared.
Wow.
And this is the magic that happens in the labyrinth when you get quiet.
Mhm. I had my own experience of hearing a voice too. And so for me, it was at kind of a rock bottom point where I was like, I'm ready to be done. I had so much pain, and then the next moment was a voice saying, your life isn't going to turn out like this. You're going to figure it out, and you're going to teach other people. And there's something like when you hear that voice, you know that it's coming from like the truest place. And there's no doubt. Like when I heard that voice, I had no doubt that I was going to figure out how to heal my body. And also no doubt that I was going to be doing what I'm doing right now. And I think it happens like you talked about it happening kind of when you're at like a rock bottom point. You're like, come, I want the answers, or I give up unless I get answers, or I just give up. Have you seen that?
Well, we all want to give up. I mean, so many times I wanted to give up, but there's always something that takes over. And I really do feel like it's an energy that you can't explain. You
Yeah.
have to trust the unseen.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it will carry you when you don't even realize it's carrying you. I mean, there have been times where I have gone to places that I had no idea why I was there. Something had carried me there. Maybe it was to meet a certain person for a certain reason, or to travel somewhere and learn a certain lesson. Like we have to surrender to these urges that we get that are just really energy. So I believe our soul
Mhm.
carrying us to places in this lifetime, because I believe that we are here to experience ourselves in as many ways as we possibly can.
Mhm.
And when we are feeling stuck, either in grief or loss or pain or a sickness, it is our soul that will take over. We almost have to get out of our bodies and drop into our souls and surrender to that energy. And I'm telling you, it's very difficult because, again, we can't see it. But
Right.
when we see the synchronicities that begin to line up in our lives because of doing that, then we begin to trust.
So Elaine, how would you tell someone to surrender? I know it's a key point and in healing, healing on many, many levels. And we aren't really taught to surrender. We in our culture we're taught go, like do, and not surrender. How do you tell people to surrender? How would you advise someone to take that step towards surrender?
I believe that there are two ways to think about surrendering. One, we can surrender to what is,
Mm-hmm.
but on a different, maybe more higher consciousness, it's the surrendering to what can be is the
Mm,
difference. And surrendering means to me to empty out. Because when our lives are so dense and full, there's no way we can hear the direction
mm-hmm.
that we're meant to hear. So that's why the three things that I believe in is to pause and get quiet, to
Mm-hmm.
purge, clean and clear out everything to create that space. So
Mm-hmm.
then we can find our purpose. So it's those three P's: pause, purge, and find your purpose.
Mm. When you say purge, do you are you talking about physically? Are you talking about emotionally? Like probably a combination. So how
Yes.
do people purge?
The second path in Get Quiet is all about cleaning and clearing our environment. And that's, you're right. It's everything from what's in our cupboards, what's in our refrigerator, what's in our closets, what are the outside storage units that we're paying for that we have lost the key to. I mean, it's the shift of everything that you clean and clear out what you no longer need to, like I said, to create this space. It's also who's in your house, who's in your bed. It
Mhm.
is a full-on purge.
Yeah. Who's in your social circle?
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And when you purge everything that is no longer needed, that's actually weighing heavy on you energetically,
Mm-hmm.
then you create the space to heal. Then you create the space to have clear direction that you can either fill that space then with what you want, what you desire, or just keep it empty. Because I remember when my kids left for college, I would go into their empty rooms, but it was so quiet that I would walk into this room. And when you walk into an empty room, you can find yourself again.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a really powerful image for people. Walking into an empty room to find yourself. What about in nature? Yeah, because you mentioned that this labyrinth was outside. Can people also find themselves in the vastness of nature?
Nature is the best place to find yourself because it's mirroring your own nature. And I know for myself and my clients that I take to the labyrinth and help them find great direction for themselves, that all we really need is nature, quiet, and our breath.
Mm,
Those three things will help you find the direction you're searching for, the answers that are so clear that only come from you. You know, my friend who found that message in the center saying, don't let the small things bug you. That message came from her knowing
Mm-hmm.
because her family members had told her for years, come on, mom, stop letting the small things bug you. But because that message came directly from her soul's voice, then it meant the most.
Mm-hmm. How do people know whether they're hearing their own soul's voice or they're hearing, the voice in their head that's coming from the monkey mind of thoughts, the ego, or whatever we want to call it?
It is so distinct. It is a loving voice.
Mm,
It is a safe voice. It is a clear voice. The monkey mind races and prattles on. This voice is very succinct in its messages.
mm-hmm.
So there's a very clear, distinct feeling and knowing. And so many women that I help have felt like they've lost their intuition or this knowing or this ability to really hear these clear intuitive messages.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it was never there. It's not like it has ever left you. It's just that this radio station needs to be a little bit clearer for you to hear it. And the only way to do that is to walk these 7 paths in the book, Get Quiet.
Yes. I've heard something before, and I wonder what you think of this, Elaine. Someone, and it might have been someone on my podcast, said you can always tell your intuitive voice because it never says no. Will only lead you towards yeses. Has that been your experience as well?
It has said no to me before.
Mm-hmm.
I have gotten clear messages. Like there was a time when a very popular thought leader wanted me to join her team. And back then, I was just trying to find my way and support my children as a single mom. So it was an obvious yes to the outside world that would have said, "Oh gosh, you've got to say yes to her. This is the best and biggest opportunity you've had in such a long time." Well, I took this question to the labyrinth.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was walking and saying, like, what should I do?
Mm-hmm.
It was a clear no.
Mm-hmm.
It was a clear no. And it wasn't a forceful no. It was a clear, loving no. And so
Yeah.
I have heard no's and I trust those no's. And at the same time, you're right. Most of the messages will be loving and playful. This intuition, this unseen spirit world is playful because
Mm-hmm.
I believe that one of womankind's greatest achievements is play. And yet we've forgotten how to play. And so that's where I learned how to play again, is in this labyrinth and connecting to this energy that's just playful and loving. And like,
Mm-hmm.
don't sweat the small stuff. You're going to get through this. And it's like you're a best friend that you've disconnected from. But I believe that that's why we're suffering, is because we have disconnected from this energy, the soul,
Mm-hmm.
God, the universe, whatever that energy is that we can't see. I believe that disconnection is why we suffer.
Mm-hmm. Elaine, do you have any like a little exercise that we might do to just like short one where people could connect, like tune in with that? Do you have anything like that we could, or anything to suggest to the audience? I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit.
No, absolutely. In Get Quiet, each path is associated with a certain focus that we talked about before: nurture your body, clean and clear environment, and so on. But each of those paths is also connected to a body part, so that this is about energy healing as well,
Mhm.
focusing on each body part. So I'd be happy if to go over those energy points. I use these and I teach my clients how to use these to shift the energy in our bodies so that inward we feel harmony, we feel
Mm,
whole, We feel a regulated nervous system instead of a dysregulated nervous system.
Mm.
So if any of the listeners are at home or a place where they can jot down these energy points, I would invite you to do that.
Okay.
And so we'll start with the first energy point is your abdomen.
Mm-hmm.
So we just place our focus on the abdomen. I believe we also have healing hands. So we want to place our both of our hands on our bellies. And
Mm-hmm.
this is a place where, especially for women, all creativity begins in our abdomen. Whether we've housed, babies in our womb or not, this is a place where our dreams reside. And
Mm-hmm.
so we want to focus in on this abdomen. The next energy point is the heart energy.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we can place our hands there, take deep breaths in, deep breaths out, and know that when we connect to this heart energy, we're opening up the space to love again, primarily ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
The third point is our head. And again, just keeping our focus again on our head, watching the thoughts move around, maybe like a very, very busy ocean with waves, but then maybe envisioning that ocean settling like it would at the bottom of the ocean, how calm it is.
Love that.
And the next energy point are our hips. And in that cup shaped hip on both sides, which we call the ilium, that's where a lot of stuck energy in terms of emotions are.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that's the focus there, is to shift the energy in both of our hips. And in Get Quiet, each chapter gives you a complete visualization to cleaning and clearing these energy points.
Mm.
After the hips comes the feet, and this is the grounding.
Mm-hmm.
And not only do we ground, I believe, down to the earth, but we also ground upward to the heavens. So
Mm-hmm.
it's this upward and downward grounding. And if you just imagine this energy just soaring through you from head to toe and down to the earth and up to the heavens, it's such a beautiful feeling. And I know we're going through the paths quickly, but this is a certain type of scanning of the body that
Mm-hmm.
you want to take time with.
Mm-hmm.
The next energy point are the legs, and this is the path about moving your dreams forward. So many of us have lost the ability to dream for ourselves because we are in pain, because we feel stuck. And how do we move our lives forward? Well, the legs are that representation of moving our lives forward,
Right.
getting up off the couch and just taking 3 steps,
Right. Just like you did.
just like I did.
Mm-hmm.
The next energy point is our tailbone. And so much of us are sitting a lot during the day, or we've had injuries around the tailbone area. This
Mm-hmm.
is the intuition energy point. So when we clean and clear out this energy point, I believe and I have experienced that our intuition comes back online. And it's really an exciting event. The last energy point is when you finally get to the center of the labyrinth, the center of you. That energy point are your shoulders.
Mm.
So I teach people to crisscross their arms, place each hand on the opposite shoulder,
Mm-hmm.
almost like you're giving yourself a big hug.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm
When was the last time we did that for ourselves?
feels really nice. Very nurturing.
Yes, deep breath in and out. And there you have it.
Lovely. It really surprised me, your energy points, because I was expecting it to be, like the chakras or something like that. Are these energy points tied in any way to, something like the meridian lines or anything like that? Or is it something completely involved with what you intuited in your path?
Yes, the latter. This is what I intuited when I did get quiet and I did get to the center of who I am and my purpose. that's when I actually brought in these clear messages of the energy points in just the way that I just showed you.
Oh, I love it. It was so very surprising, but also makes sense. Makes sense. So, gosh, thank you so much for sharing that with us. That was beautiful. Elaine, is there anything we haven't talked about yet that you would really like the audience to know about or hear about?
You're never alone.
Hmm.
You have a whole spirit team, let's call it, a whole energy that's just longing to support you,
Hmm. I
to
believe
say
that.
yes to. And
Yes.
so I want you to know that you're never alone in life and what you're going through, ever.
Oh, that's so gorgeous. So gorgeous. Okay. So I always ask my audience or my guest, what's one thing that someone could do today that's going to initiate healing? Because this program is all about self-empowerment and, intentional living. So what would you say is it something they could do today, just a small step?
Place your hands on the area of your body that hurts the most
Mm-hmm.
and tune in. And if one of those places is an energy point that we just went through, then in the book Get Quiet, I would direct them to that particular chapter.
Okay.
So it's just one area of your body.
Mm-hmm.
Tune in and ask your body, what do I need? Your body will talk to you.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Beautiful. So, where can people find this book and where can people find out more about you? And I know that you've got a little gift to go with the book resources as well. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Sure. They can find me at elaineglass.com.
Okay?
I have a newsletter that goes out every Sunday morning that's very nourishing and very peaceful for Sunday mornings.
Hmm.
And then they can find the book at getquiet.com
Okay.
or anywhere that they purchase their books. I also have the Audible version and I read it myself.
Nice.
Every chapter, again, has those visualizations put to music. So it's a really nice listen if you're more of a listener than a reader of a book. The bonus that I have for everyone who goes to the getquiet.com site is a 6-minute meditation, and it will inspire you and guide you in ways that I think will be really, really supportive on your journey.
Beautiful. And I know with your beautiful, calm voice, your meditations are going to be really lovely. And fabulous that you did your own Audible book as well and with the meditations in there. So that all sounds fabulous. And we'll, of course, have the links in the show notes. So thank you so much, Elaine, for being a guest on Wellness by Design today. It's been really, really sweet, really special, and I feel like connecting with that inside or the bigger version, all-knowing version of ourselves. So thank you so much for that and the great work that you're doing in the world.
Thank you so much.
All right, and to everyone watching and listening, have a check out Elaine's book. It just sounds really lovely. I think just being able to connect with yourself and listen to that guidance that is always there for you. Just need to get quiet so you can hear it. All right, we'll see you again soon.